What happens when the architect of an empire becomes its executioner? When the man who whispered victory into a champion's ear suddenly screams betrayal from the rooftops? The WWE Universe isn't just watching wrestling anymore, we're witnessing the systematic destruction of the most dominant dynasty in sports entertainment history, and the mastermind behind it all is the last person anyone saw coming. Paul Heyman's betrayal of Roman Reigns has reached nuclear levels, but this isn't just another heel turn. This is psychological warfare at its most brutal, orchestrated by a man who spent 5 years learning every weakness, every insecurity, every pressure point of the man he once called his tribal chief. And now he's using that intimate knowledge to tear Roman's world apart, piece by bloody piece. But here's what's keeping wrestling insiders awake at night. Heyman didn't just walk away from Roman Reigns. He walked straight into the arms of Seth Rollins, Roman's greatest rival, the man who shattered the Shield, the architect of Roman's deepest trauma. Together, they've assembled a faction so dangerous, so calculated in their destruction, that even the most hardcore wrestling fans are questioning whether Roman Reigns can survive what's coming next. Seth Rollins' new faction isn't just running wild on Raw, they're rewriting the rules of dominance. With Braun Breaker as their explosive young weapon and the monstrous Bronson Reed as their 330-pound wrecking ball, they're not just attacking the Bloodline. They're dismantling it with surgical precision, mocking Roman's absence in ways that cut deeper than any finishing move ever could. And that moment when Bronson Reed sent Jey Uso crashing through the announce table with a tsunami splash that shook the entire arena? The WWE Universe is still picking up the pieces of their shattered expectations. But the real earthquake came when Tanga Loa, Roman's own family, held Solo Sikoa back from making the save. That wasn't just a betrayal. That was the moment we realized Heyman's poison has infected the very DNA of the Bloodline itself. But here's the million-dollar question that's driving every wrestling fan to the edge of insanity. Where's Roman Reigns? The man who once demanded acknowledgement from every soul in the WWE Universe has vanished like smoke, leaving behind only whispers, speculation, and Heyman's relentless taunts echoing through empty arenas. Roman Reigns doesn't have the balls to come back, Heyman sneered on Raw, and with each passing week, those words feel less like trash talk and more like prophecy. The wrestling world is trembling on the precipice of something unprecedented. We're not just watching storylines unfold, we're witnessing the potential end of an era, the fall of a king, and the rise of something darker than anything WWE has ever produced. This is the story that's setting social media on fire, breaking the internet with every twist, and forcing even casual fans to choose sides in a war that threatens to reshape professional wrestling forever. Stay locked in, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you think you know about loyalty, betrayal, and the price of absolute power in the world of sports entertainment. Here's where the story gets absolutely diabolical. Paul Heyman's betrayal isn't just about switching sides, it's a masterclass in psychological destruction that would make Machiavelli himself take notes. For 5 years, Heyman was the architect behind Roman Reigns' transformation from the booed big dog into the most dominant force WWE has ever seen. He crafted every promo, orchestrated every mind game, and turned Reigns into a legitimate main event superstar. But here's the twisted genius of it all. Heyman knows Roman's deepest insecurities better than Roman knows them himself. On the Pat McAfee show, Heyman revealed the emotional scars that drove his betrayal. He felt trapped in an impossible, compromising position at WrestleMania 41. Think about that for a second. The man who built Roman's empire felt imprisoned by his own creation. Heyman's rebranding as the Oracle on July 7th Raw wasn't just a name change, it was a declaration of war. He's not the wise man anymore, guiding from the shadows. He's the puppet master pulling strings in broad daylight, and his first target is Roman's psyche. When Heyman taunts that Roman Reigns doesn't have the balls to come back, he's not just insulting him, he's weaponizing Roman's greatest fear, being seen as weak. But wait, it gets even more calculated. Heyman is using Roman's own words against him. Remember when Roman said, The moment I'm not with the wise man is the moment you won't see the tribal chief anymore. Heyman is literally holding Roman hostage with his own prophecy. Every day Roman stays away, he proves Heyman's point that he's nothing without his former advisor. The psychological warfare extends beyond words. By aligning with Seth Rollins, Roman's greatest rival and the man who originally betrayed the Shield, Heyman is reopening old wounds. He's forcing Roman to relive his most painful memories while simultaneously creating new trauma. It's like watching a chess grandmaster play against someone who doesn't even know the rules. And here's the most sinister part, Heyman's history of betrayal. Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, now Roman Reigns. There's a pattern here that suggests Heyman might already be planning his next move. Is he using Rollins to destroy Roman, only to eventually betray Seth too? The Oracle sees all possibilities, and that makes him the most dangerous man in WWE. Fans on X are eating this up, with hashtag #WhereIsRoman trending worldwide. Every tweet, every speculation, every desperate plea for Roman's return is exactly what Heyman wants. He's not just breaking Roman Reigns, he's breaking the entire WWE Universe's faith in their former tribal chief. The question isn't whether this psychological warfare is working. The question is how much more can Roman's legacy withstand before it crumbles completely. Bronson Reed isn't just the muscle of this faction, he's a 330-pound wrecking ball with the agility of a cruiserweight and the killer instinct of an apex predator. When he joined Rollins, Heyman, and Braun Breaker at Saturday night's main event on May 24, 2025, it wasn't just an addition to the roster. It was the completion of a weapon of mass destruction that the wrestling world has never seen before. Let's talk about what happened to Jey Uso on July 7th Raw, because calling it a match would be an insult to the English language. This was a public execution broadcast to millions. Reed didn't just defeat Jey, he obliterated him with surgical precision. The first tsunami splash through the announce table was devastating enough to end most careers. But Reed wasn't finished. He hoisted Jey's lifeless body and delivered another crushing blow onto the steel steps, and the sound, that sickening thud, still echoes in the nightmares of everyone who witnessed it. Paul Heyman called it destruction worse than anything Roman Reigns did to Seth Rollins in 10 years. Let that sink in. We're talking about a man who's seen Roman spear people through barricades, tables, and souls. Yet even Heyman was impressed by Reed's brutality. This isn't just about physical dominance, it's about sending a message that reverberates through every locker room, every arena, and every wrestling fan's consciousness. But here's what makes Reed truly terrifying, his intelligence. This isn't some mindless monster swinging wildly. Reed's attacks are calculated, methodical, and designed for maximum psychological impact. When he positioned Jey for that second tsunami splash onto the steel steps, he looked directly into the camera. He wanted the world to see what happens when you stand against Heyman's new order. WWE's creative team, led by Triple H, sees Reed as the future of the company's heel division. His combination of size, athleticism, and natural charisma makes him the perfect vessel for Heyman's vision. But there's a deeper strategy at play here. Reed represents everything the current Bloodline lacks: raw power, unpredictability, and most importantly, loyalty to a cause greater than family politics. The backstage reports are buzzing about Reed's rocket push to main event status. Aligning him with Heyman isn't just smart booking, it's genius-level character development. Reed gets the rub from wrestling's greatest manager, while Heyman gets an enforcer who can back up every threat with bone-crushing reality. But here's the million-dollar question that's keeping wrestling insiders awake at night. Is Reed truly loyal to this faction, or is he a ticking time bomb waiting to explode? His history suggests he's a lone wolf who trusts no one completely. Fans on X are already speculating about potential betrayals within the group. Could Reed eventually turn on Rollins? Could Braun Breaker's jealousy over Reed's push create internal conflict? The beauty of Reed's character is that he's simultaneously the solution to Heyman's problems and potentially his biggest threat. That's the kind of complex storytelling that transforms good wrestling into legendary entertainment. The Bloodline isn't just cracking, it's experiencing a complete structural collapse that would make ancient Rome jealous. What we witnessed on July 7th Raw when Tanga Loa held Solo Sikoa back from saving Jey Uso wasn't just a plot twist. It was the moment we realized that Paul Heyman's psychological warfare has infected the very DNA of Samoa's most powerful wrestling dynasty. Solo Sikoa's leadership has been under microscopic scrutiny since he declared himself the new tribal chief. Let's be brutally honest here, Solo lacks the magnetic charisma that made Roman Reigns a global phenomenon. His promos feel forced, his matches lack the epic storytelling that defined the Bloodline's golden era, and most damaging of all, he's lost the respect of his own family members. When your own blood won't fight for you, what does that say about your leadership? The new Bloodline, Solo, Tama Tonga, Tanga Loa, and Jacob Cobb, JC Mateo, feels like a tribute band trying to recreate a legendary concert. They have the moves, they have the look, but they're missing the soul that made the original Bloodline appointment television every single week. Fans on social media have been merciless in their criticism, with many calling Solo's reign the great disappointment and demanding Roman's immediate return. But here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. Tanga Loa's betrayal of Jey Uso reveals fractures that run deeper than anyone imagined. When he physically restrained Solo from interfering in Reed's beatdown, he wasn't just making a tactical decision, he was making a statement about the power structure within the group. Is Loa secretly working with Heyman? Has the Oracle's influence spread so far that he's got agents within Solo's own faction? The absence of Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, looms over this civil war like a storm cloud ready to burst. Backstage rumors suggest Fatu is furious about the direction of the new Bloodline and is considering aligning with Roman Reigns when he returns. Imagine the nuclear explosion that would create, the most feared Samoan wrestler of this generation joining forces with the original tribal chief to reclaim their family's honor. This civil war is tearing apart more than just a wrestling faction, it's destroying a legacy that spans generations. The Anoa'i family tree has produced legends like The Rock, Yokozuna, and Rikishi. Now we're watching their descendants engage in a battle that could permanently damage the family's wrestling reputation. Solo's desperation is becoming more obvious with each passing week. His attempts to assert authority feel increasingly hollow when his own family members won't follow his lead. The June 28, 2024 SmackDown episode where Heyman refused to acknowledge Solo as tribal chief was the beginning of the end. That public humiliation planted seeds of doubt that have now grown into full-blown rebellion. The most tragic part? This civil war is exactly what Paul Heyman wanted. He's watching the Bloodline destroy itself from within while his new faction grows stronger. It's a masterpiece of manipulation that would make Shakespeare proud, a family tragedy playing out on the grandest stage in sports entertainment. Roman Reigns finds himself trapped in a prison of his own making, facing the most impossible decision of his legendary career. For over 4 years, he was the undisputed king of WWE, the tribal chief who acknowledged no equal and demanded recognition from every soul in the wrestling universe. But now, stripped of his championship, betrayed by his closest advisor, and watching his family empire crumble, Roman faces a choice that could define not just his career, but his entire legacy. The dilemma is absolutely brutal in its simplicity: return and risk everything, or stay away and lose everything. If Roman comes back now, he's walking into a war zone orchestrated by the man who knows his every weakness. Paul Heyman spent 5 years studying Roman psychology, crafting his character, and understanding exactly which buttons to push to make him explode. Now Heyman is using that intimate knowledge as a weapon, backed by a faction that includes Roman's greatest rival and a monster who just destroyed his cousin on live television. But here's what makes this dilemma truly impossible: Roman's own words are haunting him. When he said, "The moment I'm not with the wise man is the moment you won't see the tribal chief anymore," he created a prophecy that's now becoming his nightmare. Every day he stays away, he proves Heyman's point that he was nothing without his former advisor. It's psychological quicksand. The more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. The wrestling world is holding its breath, waiting for Roman's decision. Backstage reports suggest he's furious, plotting his revenge, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what constitutes the perfect moment when your enemy controls the narrative and has turned your own family against each other? Roman's legendary patience, once his greatest strength, is now being weaponized against him by Heyman's relentless taunting. Consider the stakes. If Roman returns and loses, his mystique, the very foundation of his character, is shattered forever. The man who once seemed invincible becomes just another wrestler who couldn't handle the pressure. But if he stays away much longer, the wrestling world moves on without him. Seth Rollins' faction grows stronger, Solo's bloodline continues to embarrass the family name, and Roman becomes a cautionary tale about pride coming before the fall. The fan reaction on social media tells the whole story. #WhereIsRoman trends worldwide daily, with the WWE Universe split between those demanding his immediate return and others who believe his absence proves he's lost his edge. Some fans are already calling him a coward, echoing Heyman's taunts. Others defend him as a strategic genius who's waiting for the right moment to reclaim his throne. But here's the most heartbreaking part of Roman's dilemma. He's not just fighting for championships or storylines. He's fighting for his identity. For years, being the tribal chief wasn't just his character, it was who he was. Now, stripped of that identity and betrayed by the man who helped create it, Roman must decide whether to risk everything on a comeback that might fail or accept that his reign as the head of the table has ended forever. The clock is ticking, and every second of silence makes his eventual decision more crucial to WWE's future.